Welcome to Subramani. Once upon a time, when people wanted to ask questions, they would look for experts and ask them. Now it is easier to go to a website or somewhere and put a query, or even on Twitter, and very many people will write back to you. But the question is, you do not know about anything about the people who are writing back to you. You do not have any clue about their investment track records or anything of that sort. So when somebody asked for in a public forum that I want a reasonably consistent fund manager, I was a little amused, because I don't want a consistent fund manager, at least not in equity funds. I want a fund manager who will give me great returns in certain years and give me decent returns in certain years and bad returns in certain years, because that's how the market will behave. So I'm perfectly all right if my downsides are not protected too much, provided I get fantastic upsides, right? So I have been an equity investor now for last at least 20 years plus, 21, 22 years in mutual funds, or sorry, a little more than that, maybe 24 years in a mutual fund. And I have obviously, when I started, I had no process, right? So I don't even know whether my claim to have invested with these guys is just confirmation bias or survivorship bias, whatever. But I started investing with these guys 20 years ago, and that time there was no survivorship bias, and the most important thing is I stuck around with them. If I see the number of fund managers who are good and successful, the ratio is quite frightening, right? There are 42 fund houses and few fund managers who stand out because of their fund management ability to communicate. Because the most important thing I have found is in a fund manager is his ability to communicate. So the question is not whether there are some fund managers in the private who are better than, say, Warren Buffett, but Warren Buffett's strength is investing and communication, right? It is communication which is huge in his life. He has a fantastic PR machinery. All that has to be in place for a fund manager in the public space. So I know people in their individual capacity who have created far more wealth than most of the fund managers. In fact, than all the fund managers, but they worked without any constraint. They could move into real estate funding, to equity, to debt, to gold, whatever. They've been that go anywhere mandate. So with a go anywhere mandate, it is easier to get better returns than with a fund manager who has severe restrictions. So obviously, when I started, maybe in year 1998, 99, 2000, first of all, let me start by saying I had total and utter contempt for mutual funds, because as a person in the stock market, I did not find good quality of fund management at all for a very long period of time. And I knew the kind of shares which they were buying. I knew why those shares were being sold to them, and it reeked of corruption, at least to my untrained eyes and very young eyes, right? That time I did not have the experience. But when I saw that, I said I will not go anywhere near mutual funds. Then a lot of SEBI restrictions on what they could buy, what they could not buy, and straight-jacketed things started happening. And then I said, okay, I need to experiment. I must give credit to some individuals like, say, Suraj Kelly, who got me into SIPs, and others who introduced me to fund management. Obviously, Milind Barve of HDFC Mutual Fund, he was one of the early guys who had come into it. But let me put it this way, I must thank Franklin Templeton and I must thank HDFC, but the returns I got were from Zurich Mutual Fund and Kothari Pioneer. Be very clear that these were good, well-branded fund houses, but the teams that they picked up when they bought these companies, like HDFC bought Zurich and Franklin Templeton bought Kothari Pioneer, that is what added tremendous amount of quality to their fund management, etc., right? So I'm not saying I went by brand and it was right, but I went by brand, it turned out to be right. And then it is there that I saw people like Sanjay Bhattacharya or Shiva Subramaniam, and then subsequently Anand Radhakrishnan. I would never have chosen them if they were not part of these two brands, right? So that is what happened. That is how they got chosen. So there was no process, but then afterwards I set in a process and said, okay, from there again my learning is the fund house is far more important than the individual. So I would first choose a fund house, and first these 2 fund houses were chosen. They had and these became 4 fund houses because the 2 of them took these 2 bought these 2 fund houses. And then Naren, a friend, joined ICICI Prudential. That was the time when Nilesh had also joined ICICI Prudential, and therefore ICICI Prudential fell in place. So which means now I had 3 fund managers. Franklin Templeton, where there was Shiva and gang, and there was Prashant Jain and gang, right, and Naren. It was just Naren because I had no clue about anything else in ICICI Prudential. So this is how I chose my fund managers, and after that I decided I don't need to look for fund managers other than these 3, because with these 3 I was getting enough variety. But after that, the fund managers that I picked up were people whom the CEOs to talk about, or I would see them in a forum, or I would see them experimenting with money, in the sense that they would look at some schemes very differently, and therefore those funds. For example, I have money in DSP not because of their fund management skills, which are anyway good, but because they put in a process, or Invesco has put in a process. DSP also because they have a range of products which maybe other fund houses do not have, right? So those were the reasons why I picked up some more fund houses, or something like an MNC fund which a Birla had, right? So something like that, and some index funds, and UTI index fund, right? Things like that got picked up along the way. So I am very clear that I would first choose the fund house. To me, the fund house and its processes are very important. It should not have fallen foul of the law too badly. I know HDFC Mutual Fund fell for, had an insider trading case which has not happened elsewhere. I know Franklin Templeton had problems in its debt schemes. I know that other fund houses have had similar problems. But when I hear about corruption of a fund manager, then that house is banned for the rest of my life. I wouldn't even think of doing anything with them, right? So it happens sometimes when you hear some words here and there, that and then you realize when some promoter tells you that this is what he did with a fund house, then you stay away, and you know that these things could be happening. I also like to see fund managers with, for me, nice to see them through bull markets, bear markets. I also like to see fund managers with humility. You walk up to a fund manager, like say this has happened with Anand Radhakrishnan, Prashant Jain, Naren, all of them saying, oh, I made this mistake and therefore I'm correcting myself, and things like that. Then you realize that then you don't need to correct. I don't need to. If something goes wrong with Prashant Jain's fund or Naren's fund, I know that they have an autocorrect mechanism. For me, this works, right? You have to find what works for you. You will have to look for much younger fund managers, because all these guys will be retiring soon. That would be anyway end of my investing life. After that, I may just be withdrawing. So for me, my life is over. So these kind of processes to see whether to me the qualification doesn't matter, but all these guys are, say, engineers, chartered accountants, etc. So that helps. One thing which helps is humility, accepting mistakes. That helps. Good fund houses with good processes, that helps. I know something has gone wrong with Franklin Templeton. I would look at it this way, that I put in my money, I got back my money, and I got good yields. Yes, I lost liquidity, which could have been very critical for somebody whose mother was in hospital and that money couldn't be accessed to pay the bill. But for me, that didn't really matter. So knowledge, patience, discipline to stick to his own conviction, immaterial of what happens in the market. Like Prashant Jain would stick to his portfolio, and there are times when I would like his portfolio and sometimes I would like the result, but I never redeemed from any of these funds, whether it is Franklin Blue Chip, iPro Discovery, or HDFC Equity Fund, HDFC Prudence, HDFC Top 200, which became HDFC 100. I have always had these funds. I'm not saying that they have given consistent performance. I'm not even saying that they are the best in the class. But for me, it has worked. It has worked as lump sum. It has worked as SIP. It didn't matter. integrity of the fund manager matters, the discipline matters, patience matters, objectivity matters, right? So I also go by instinct, and when I invest in a mutual fund house, I also hope that they're fair, they're honest, they're predictable, and they're customer friendly, they have good back office, right? In that, my selection may not have been great because I've had fair amount of issues with fund houses, and I also realized that if I have issues, am I able to address them? And for my answer could be very different from your answer, so you may have to look for something very different. I never needed an advisor to get into a mutual fund, but I still choose to talk to a lot of advisors about what they do. So yes, some kind of an advice is useful, some kind of interaction is useful, some kind of reaction about what fund houses are doing is useful. So all these have helped in the, so if the fund house itself is unfair, like I'm seeing some very unfair behavior today, I would like to reduce my exposure to that fund house, right? I don't like the way they have behaved with certain class of people in the past, so with a certain fund manager. I also found that HDFC Mutual Fund had an insider trading case. I have no clue how they handled it, right? So those are not very inspiring things. Then you're saying, let me just restrict myself, or let me reduce one's exposure, because I have only in 3, maybe 5, 6 fund houses, but largely my big money is in these 2, 3 fund houses, right? So for me, I need to reduce my exposure to some of these fund houses. And I like what Charlie Munger said about what to look for in fund management. He said knowledge, patience, discipline, and objectivity. Very difficult for an outsider to sit and do that. But yes, you can see patience, you can see discipline, and the most important thing, you can see consistency in thinking. Right? I don't see Prashant Jain jumping from one branch to another because somebody is telling him you're not doing well. I think that's fantastic in a fund manager. I like that deep conviction. I also don't like fund managers who talk a lot like salespeople trying to attract money. To me, that is sickening and boring. And I don't want a fund manager to be giving advice on even on asset allocation, because he doesn't know me, he doesn't know my client, he doesn't know anything. Why should he be advising on what I'm doing? So when I hear that, I mentally at least switch off. But having known some of these people and knowing that they're as clean as a whistle, the need to go out of these 4 or 5 fund houses or 6 fund houses has not really arisen, because you're just looking for feedback about their integrity and their behavior and blah blah blah, the thing beyond that, because all of them pick within the same group of 200 shares, and I have found myself picking shares better than some of the fund managers. I also know that fund managers are under tremendous constraint that they cannot allow one particular share to go beyond a particular level. So I have allowed some equity to go up as high as 40% of my, say my wife's net worth, 40% would be in one share, and it has not bothered me. I have invested knowing that I'm an absolute return investor. To me, it does not matter how my portfolio is doing vis-a-vis somebody else's portfolio, right? So to me, a fund manager is indicative that I should look at his portfolio and then decide that from that also I cherry pick. I also realize that there are some shares which a fund manager can never buy. It's not a reflection on the company, it's a reflection on his own ability to liquidate very big amounts of say a Bosch or a Lakshmi Machine Works. It is impossible for them to buy real huge quantities. Entry in and entry out is difficult. The impact cost is too high. I don't have those restrictions, so I can buy those shares instead of buying it through a mutual fund. I have invested in an MNC fund, but I have MNCs in my portfolio directly. I may be running out of time in MNCs, I may be getting out, I may be getting into something else. I am getting into international diversification. When you do an international diversification, you really have no choice. I have no clue about the fund managers, I don't even know their name. And the funds in which I am investing are just a cover because they are a fund of funds inside. So when I'm doing that, I have no clue who's the fund manager. I can just go by the fund house and hope for a good process. So if you are looking for a fund manager with a consistent alpha and things like that, God bless you, but I have no clue how to go about doing it. Thank you.